3, 2, 1. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Kings of Kimuras. I have Chris here with me from Phalanx. You guys know the brand very well. It's pretty much like synonymous with no-gi jiu-jitsu. So first, just thank you for being here with me today.
I'm happy to be here.
So, let's talk a little bit about, recently your move from California. So you were based in California for how many years?
Well, I grew up in California. I've lived there my whole life. So 40-something years and up and down California from north to central to south. But for Jiu-Jitsu and Phalanx specifically, it was born in 2010 on the mats of 10th Planet Costa Mesa.
Okay. So what kind of got you wanting to start a jiu-jitsu brand? Because there's, obviously there's like a lot of brands out there. So, what got you wanting to get into that market?
So for me, I was already doing jiu-jitsu and I was working at my day job. I was a geologist and I had a nice office and everything was great and I was making good money, but I was not happy. Mm-hmm. I was not built for corporate day job working for the man life, and there's no amount of money, nothing could change that. I just spent my days thinking about how Monday through Friday is the same, 8 to 5. The next week is the same. If my weeks are the same, that means my months are the same. That means my years. That means I'm living the same life over and over again. And it just ate away at me. And so I was actually reading the book. I don't know if it's relevant anymore. It's old, but it's the 4-Hour Work Week.
Oh, yeah.
By Tim Ferriss.
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, he's just like, you can fucking do it. And I'm like, yeah, I can do it. Mm-hmm. And so I started looking around at what are things that are in my life currently that I can maybe make a little business from. And I had a few attempts, a few failed businesses along the way. Phalanx was actually the fourth one. And how it got started is I was already doing jiu-jitsu. I already enjoyed it. I was just doing gi, but I didn't like what we were wearing. The pants, they were like these big tubes and the ties. I'm like, someone can improve on these things. And so one day I just decided to buy a sewing machine, learn how to use it on YouTube, take apart all my gis and like take all the thread out and like staple them to the walls of the inside of my house and kind of study how the panels were. And then I took inspiration from other industries, like in motorcycle apparel, how the knees are articulated. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, if we're in jiu-jitsu, like how often are our legs straight other than standing at attention at the end or getting knee barred by somebody? So I thought, why don't I build them so they're comfortable like this? Mm-hmm. And then I started thinking about the back and how it's always riding down. So I looked at jeans and how it has that yoke on the back. And I thought, okay, I'll add that too. And so I just started making my own little Frankenstein pair of gi pants. And I really liked them. I sewed them myself and I would wear them. And then some of the guys at the gym were like, oh, those are cool. Can I get a pair? Sure, no problem. And I'd make them and give them to them. Mm-hmm. And then at some point I transitioned away from that. I won't name it because it's actually a shitty place. But the gi place that I was training at, I left them. And that's when I went to 10th Planet Costa Mesa. So I was already making these gi pants. Because the jackets had evolved some from the big judo jackets to the more competition style, but they never messed with the pants. So that's why I focused on those. And then, but now I'm training at 10th Planet Costa Mesa. And so I was wearing gi pants like Eddie Bravo style. Yeah. And people there were like, oh, those are cool. But there wasn't a big market for it. There's no market for no-gi at the time. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a single no-gi brand out there except for one, which was called No-Gi Industries. So I want to give them credit. Phalanx wasn't the first. They were actually the first. They just didn't do anything with it. And so I thought, I'm going to make some no-gi stuff now that I'm getting into this. And it was Casey Halstead, for the guy who was one of the dudes who ran it, who said, why don't you make a pair? I'll give them to Eddie Bravo for you when I go up to HQ. And I'm like, okay. So I put an incredible amount of care and I made my own. And I gave him to Casey with a little letter, and then he took him to Eddie, and then I didn't hear shit. And I was like, damn it. And so I was like, well, whatever. I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing. Then a seminar comes around where Eddie's coming into town, and he walks in wearing the gi pants. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, those are, you got them. And he goes, oh, shit, these are yours? He's like, these are $10 million gi pants. I wear these all the time. Or no, he said $1 million. These are $1 million gi pants. I wear them all the time. Like, how did you do it? And then he started talking to me about it. I even got a cool little picture of him like holding up the logo, and he was very complimentary about it. And he had been given so much stuff that he wouldn't say that if it wasn't legit. But I also knew it was legit. I engineered them for a reason. I wasn't just trying to create a brand. I was trying to create exceptional products. And so from that day, with getting Eddie saying, these are awesome, he then blasted it out to the 10th Planet family. And at the time, I don't remember how many, it wasn't as big as it is now. This was pre-Freak Bros. And so then I started getting people coming to the site and wanting to buy stuff. But not a lot of people wear gi pants in no gi. It's kind of an Eddie thing. So then I immediately turned my sights to shorts because I didn't want to wear gi pants at no gi either. And so then I did the same thing. I looked at the existing shorts that are out there, and at the time, there were these heavy MMA, down to your knees, think Brock Lesnar, Cain Velasquez style, thick, heavy, big slit on the side. And I thought, nah, I'm changing this. So I looked into the surfing industry, first of all. Lightweight, moisture wicking. And I thought, well, there you go. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at athletics. I'm going to look at things where there's a lot of dexterity and mobility. And so I did the same thing with the gi pants, and I started making my own pair. And then I ended up selling those. And because Eddie had already given attention to his 10th Planet ecosystem, there was like a legitimacy to it. And so from that point, then people started to buy. And then I met Richie Martinez at Costa Mesa. He came, he was a purple belt, and he had just been starting out, and we hit it off really well. We're not related. A lot of people think we are because of the name, but we hit it off really well. And he goes, yeah, you should sponsor my little brother, Gio. He's a blue belt. He's going to be great. And I'm like, this is how little I knew at the time. Like, okay, I have a form. He could fill out my form.
Yeah.
And if you think about it now. And so he did. And then we all got together and we hung out, and it was the beginning of a legit, lifelong friendship. Like, I will forever do whatever I can for those guys. They rose up really fast into the system and the jiu-jitsu industry. And I was rising over here and they were rising over there. And for a long time together, we were a team. And really they were pushing the bounds of jiu-jitsu with their style, and I was pushing the bounds of no-gi by being innovative.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, it's very difficult to be in that industry. I mean, there's so many competitors, but you kind of started at a time where a lot of the brands, you know, no-gi was kind of secondary. You know, like there's a ton of brands out there you can go and look, and you probably even talk to the owners, and they'll tell you, like, at that time period, majority of people were buying gis, right? And like you said, a lot of them were not really innovative. You know, there were some probably younger guys listening to this that don't understand that in the early days, you pretty much just got a judo gi, or you know, when they started making jiu-jitsu gis, they were not the greatest. You know, they were really baggy, and they were more just like durable than anything, you know, but it wasn't like stylish. It wasn't comfortable to wear. And, you know, the problem that I always had with the gi pants is they were always too short, you know. And you see a lot of brands out there now, you know, Show Your Roll is probably the best known for like the gi industry. They're making stuff like way more stylish than they used to.
Yeah. Yeah, the gi game, it evolved not as fast as no gi because it didn't have as much of a reason to evolve as far as the products go. But I would argue that they weren't innovative back then. I don't think a lot of them are even innovative now. They're just using concepts that already exist and putting their branding on it, and that's it. Where we invent our stuff. So when I first started making mine, there was, other than that no-gi Industries, there was nobody else. Everybody was 90-something% gi, and then they'd throw a little no-gi thing in there. They'd have some shitty shorts that they just put on the site.
Yeah.
We were the first to go 100% all in. And I knew it when I saw the Freak Bros rising up. I knew there was something coming. The next clue for me to see the pattern before it existed was Metamoris. Do you remember Metamoris?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Metamoris was, they'd have like 10 matches, and there was like 9 gi matches and 1 no gi match. By like Metamoris 4 or 5, it was almost all no gi and 1 gi match.
Yeah.
That was the second clue that was building the pattern before it existed, that this one's more exciting for people to watch. Forget doing it. I have no interest in comparing the two disciplines. I think there's beauty in both. I don't have a side that I choose in terms of like which one's better. But if you're just talking about watching it on social media and you're brand new to jiu-jitsu, or your kid does it and you don't really do it, the no-gi one is going to be easier for you to really understand.
Yeah.
The beauty of the technique and the nuance in the gi with the subtle differences in grip. It's very hard for a regular person to understand.
Yeah.
And the slow, methodical movement doesn't translate as much into social media.
Yeah.
And so that was another clue that I saw. Then another clue was when Reebok signed with UFC.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, I went, oh, this is a lock. I know no-gi is going to grow now, because now a mainstream apparel company is aligning themselves with a mixed martial arts league. And if you aspire to be an MMA person, especially at the time, you have to do jiu-jitsu. And if you're going to do jiu-jitsu and MMA, despite what a lot of people try to argue, no-gi seems to be the most reasonable one to focus on. And so I knew that all of those things were going to translate down. The Metamoris switching to no-gi, despite being built by the Gracie family, which is almost all gi, that I knew was going to be a thing. Then seeing Reebok joining in, I knew that was a thing. The rise of UFC just continued to grow. Jiu-jitsu is a discipline within MMA. UFC is the rising tide, and we were a ship. And that's when I dug my heels in and said that I will drop some gis here and there, because I actually love it. I started off there. But our core passion is no-gi, but innovating it, not just slapping designs on it. So we were the first brand out there to do ultralight shorts. That's now industry standard.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing is that now. And I actually have a funny story about that too. And then another one is putting the last names on the back. Mm-hmm. So I had Richie Martinez, Gio Martinez, Nathan Orchard, Tom DeBlas, Gordon Ryan, and I'm like, okay, these are like totally different like groups. How do I bring these guys together? And they were all going to an ADCC trials. And so I decided I'm going to put their names on. I'm going to make it a team. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have the Phalanx thing here. I'm going to put DeBlas on the back and Ryan on the back. And so I did. And now everybody does that too.
Yeah.
So it's not enough, in my opinion, to just create a logo, go to Alibaba, get some patterns already been done, slap your design on it, and then go, cool, we're a jiu-jitsu brand. Yes, but for me, it needs to be a little bit more. There has to be more to it, because I'm also trying to make an impact on the industry, not just collect money. And so being the first company to do ultralight shorts and turn it into an industry standard, being the first to put the names on the back, and now it's an industry standard. We also were the first brand to purposely put women's products up and not just have it be an afterthought. So you go way back 2012. If you go to the Wayback Machine and you type in phalanxfc.com and you click all the way back to 2012, you'll see it right there. Men, women, women's V-cut, women figure cut rash guards specifically for the female form. And now women's jiu-jitsu is continuing to grow.
Yeah.
So I like kind of being there before the wave hits. I don't like riding on trends, and I want to make a bigger impact by contributing to the industry and making it more than what it is.
Did you guys ever use Velcro on your shorts?
We did. And the very first ones had Velcro, the first ones we created. And that was carryover from the MMA shorts. And then I can't remember when we released our first, But the reason that wasn't something that I was like, oh, I'm going to do this because I could see the future. Some things I can. That one was just me listening. I listen to what people are saying. People are on the mat. People are like, look at my rash guard. It's all fucked up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is that? And they go, it's the Velcro. What do you mean? Well, guys, Velcro scratches on this, or if it's in the washing machine. I went, So I went and did something about it. And now I actually think the Velcro is going to make a comeback at some point. I don't think it'll be the big, thick thing, but I think I think there will be a time where it's going to fit, it's going to look good, and it's going to make sense. But
it has to be some other form of Velcro, I feel like, because, the current design of it, I mean, if you don't perfectly align those two pieces and you throw it in the wash, there's a rash guard getting wasted.
Yeah, now that's a little I call them decision-making units. Little things that you have to think about during the day that chip away at your energy. Those decision-making units, that's another one. I'm going to do my laundry, and now I got to pay attention to put the Velcro in the right place before I wash it. People just don't want to do those things. And then they pull out the rash guard, and it's got the little marks on it. And they go, cool, I just spent $60 on a rash guard, wore it one time, and now the Velcro's scuffed it up. Or a training partner. Yeah. When you're actually rolling and they don't put it all the way, and it's just off a little bit, and now next thing you know, you're done with a roll and your rash guard just got ruined.
Yeah.
So it'll make a comeback in a different way. I've pondered on it. But the reality is that the elastic waistband is superior. Yeah. So some things you just don't need to fix.
There's a lot of talk now about like PFAS and stuff in rash guards. Have you given that some thought as well? As I don't know like exactly what your blend is that you're using on a rash guards, but is that something that's on your radar as well?
Not exactly. We pay attention to antimicrobial technology and flexibility and warping, because if you get like a really cheap rash guard and you'll notice that the collar warps, like it's kind of weird, or it doesn't fit quite the same after a couple wears, it's because they're using the absolute cheapest material possible. So we focus on the function first. That's number one. So that's the density of it, the stretchiness of it, the construction of it. We actually sourced our own fabric. We didn't just call up China and go, just use whatever you have. I went out of my way to get samples from all over the place, all over the world, and test them. And then we have those imported to our factory, and then they do those. And then same with the thread. So I had different threads and the strength of them, and I tested those. And at one point, I got one that was like fishing line, and I'm like, yeah, this is it. But then when the rash guard was on, you're like, oh, no, this is not it. So we put a lot of attention into that, and then also the antimicrobial component. But that's pretty much where we keep our focus.
Okay. So, all of that takes place. You're in California. What kind of set you on this path to move to Texas?
Well, I mean, there was a long journey within California. The Texas move, so if we're jumping forward probably a decade, 15 years now. Okay, so I also saw how Texas Jiu-Jitsu was growing, because I like to look at where are things going in our industry. It's just always been my thing. And I'm in a unique position. I have a perspective that, I don't know, maybe nobody, but very few people have, because I have an apparel brand that's been here since the inception and since the rise of Nogi. So I have that perspective. But I also have Phalanx Customs, where we do all of our B2B work, where we're providing rash guards and shorts and combat apparel for jiu-jitsu gyms all over the world, police agencies and sheriff's departments all over the country, the United States military, the Air Force is a big one, and then also Sig Sauer Firearms. We're there. We provide their hand-to-hand combat wear. And so I have those two ways of seeing the industry. I get to know where the world is going with respect to the jiu-jitsu gym owner, and I know where the world is going with respect to the grapplers on the mat. And then I sit up here kind of observing all of it. And then I also don't do a lot of social media where I'm on there doing stuff. It's something I need to improve on. But I read a lot. Like, I read a ton of comments of other people's stuff, and I just consider myself an observer. And so one of the things that I was observing was Texas is going to be big. We went to, Phalanx sponsored a event a jiu-jitsu tournament at 10th Planet Austin back when they were associated with On It. And my guy Nathan Orchard was there competing, and I flew out there and I met those guys. I met Aubrey Marcus, and I was just listening to them and sitting in Aubrey Marcus's office listening to what he's planning on building and what he's doing. And I'm like, okay, something's going to happen here. Mm-hmm. And I could just feel it then. Then you have Gordon Ryan, who competed in that event, but he was a brown belt at the time. And, you know, so he wasn't quite who he was yet. And I thought, this is something. There's something happening here. And then as it kept going, then you see B Team, and you see Craig Jones and all that. And it just started making more and more sense. Forget the Joe Rogan coming there and the Danaher and all that. Like, that all happened a little bit later. That just was nail in the coffin for me that this thing is going to be a big. Then you have outside jiu-jitsu with the financial sector and a lot of businesses moving to Texas and the tech sector. And I just thought, okay, when jiu-jitsu originally invaded the United States, you got Henzo in New York, you got guys kind of scattered around, and then you've got this massive radius inside Southern California with Torrance, LA, all of that. But I think that now, at some point, there's now over here in Texas, I knew that it was going to be the next hotbed of jiu-jitsu. It doesn't mean that SoCal's not going to continue kicking ass in New York and Florida's popping off. I'm not saying that, but I'm talking about like the major growth opportunities. Texas was the one where I thought, okay, that's going to be my next focus.
Yeah, I think a big part of that, too, of a lot of those guys moving to Austin was the fact that Flow Grappling is in Austin. And a lot of them, were getting on these like events like Who's Number One, but also Flow was creating a lot of content for these guys. So, it just made more sense, excuse me, for them to be in the same city because, I've been to B Team several times since like early days. And there would always be somebody from Flow there filming, whether that's like training or interviews. So, yeah, I feel like with the addition of that, it kind of enticed a lot of those guys with the big names to move to that area.
Yeah.
And, and Austin is very like condensed. I mean, you've been there before. It's not like a huge city, but they have these like major players in the sport of jiu-jitsu there now.
Well, now there's so many people here.
Yeah.
So I saw that coming. I mean, we all kind of did, but I knew that I'm going to take Phalanx. Was born on the mats in 10th Planet Costa Mesa. Shout out to Ron Turner and Casey. Then we started making our blow up in San Diego when it was me and the Freak Bros rising up. And then, which by the way, with Richie and Gio, I said how like I got those guys' backs forever. The big reason for that is for me is loyalty is so huge. Loyalty is so high on my list of values. And there was a time where Richie and Gio were getting big offers. And I was still a little brand trying to figure out how the hell to do this. And they denied every single one of them. Like, Rich Gio would send me a screenshot of Hayabusa just offered him X amount of money to go compete in EBI when that was getting big, just to wear their rash guard for one event. And he's like, nah. And they had no reason to. Yeah. But they did. So I will forever take care of those guys. So when that was blowing up, then I started seeing Texas. And then not only was it just the growth of jiu-jitsu in Texas, but there's also the advantages of having a business here. Just business, straight business. Forget jiu-jitsu. The amount of tax that I paid having a nexus in California versus now being here, you got your W-2, your state taxes, and your federal. You got all of these things. And just moving the company over here made a big difference without even changing anything other than moving. More money that we keep without having to go make more money by simply moving to a business-friendly state. And then those are all indicators of why I was going to make my move out here. Then the biggest indicator, though, of all those that was the linchpin was meeting Edgar Llamas. So Edgar and I, we had known each other. We'd been friendly for a number of years. because he had Eager Ones, and he told me a great story about how he was inspired to build Eager Ones from a speech that Casey Halstead gave about me in the gym at one day, and he went and started doing it. And he did it for a number of years. Every now and then, he and I would talk because I'd give him some friendly advice. He'd look for some advice. But I always played my cards close to the chest because at the end of the day, we're competitors. But I'm not a scarcity mindset guy, so I'm all about like sharing things. And then it was April of last year. He just calls me out of the blue and is like, "Can we talk?" And he started just telling me how he doesn't see himself as being a number one. He sees himself as being a number two. Business is hard, leadership is hard, organizing people and operations and compliance and legal and oh my God, all these things I have to do to grow my business. What if we join forces? What if you do these things, I do these things, and we come together here in the middle? And I said, well, first I actually tried to talk him out of it because I didn't want to I don't take advantage of people. And I just wanted to make sure, like, here's some things you could do, because I also don't want to take away from a potential entrepreneur giving up too soon.
Yeah.
Because it's the greatest thing that I've ever done in my life. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's the greatest thing. I love my life so much. Every single day of my life is a blessing. I absolutely love it. I can't see myself ever being anything but what this is right now. And so if there's somebody else out there who feels that fire within them, but they're in a low time, I don't want to just be like, yeah, come over here, quit. So I actually kind of try to talk him out of it. But then he comes back and he goes, no, I've talked to my wife. Like, I'm committed into this. I've always admired you and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay. And then I said to him, I don't have time right now to figure out all of the legal stuff and come up with a partnership agreement and all that. I don't have space for that. But if you trust me, then we can do but even less than a handshake. It was just a phone call deal, and you just have to trust me that I'm going to be a man of my word, a man of honor. And he said okay, which was huge for him, by the way. That's so huge, and in most cases you don't want to do that, but he believed in me and he trusted me and he did. And so then I absorbed his Eager Ones and acquired that into Phalanx under one umbrella. And then since then, our designs, I mean, if you go to the website now and you look at our products, you look at what's coming next with Forged by Fire, you look at what's coming later on in the year with our Dia de los Muertos, it's beautiful what he's doing with our aesthetic. And so, and we have another one coming soon too, which is Luminous collection that he did, and they're all just amazing. So he really took our design to the next level, and that's never been something I've been good at. I saw somebody on Reddit at one point said Phalanx has got great products, but their designs are mid, and I was like, fuck, he's right.
Yeah.
He was right. But then, so Edgar, his trust in me, his skills are complementary to mine. We don't have anything overlapping. He's phenomenal at design and aesthetic and color, and he studies trends that are coming, and it's been a blessing, and it's allowed me to focus more on infrastructure, AI, growth, new departments, leadership roles, operations. And so when that's, when that was happening in April, I was thinking, okay, Texas is getting very real now. Then a couple other people who live here started working for me too. And I'm like, what am I doing out here? Like, I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have any reason. I could be wherever I want. So what am I doing out here? And I said, all right, I'm coming out there. And so right after April, when we made our handshake agreement, then in May, the UFC calls me. And they said that they wanted us to put in an RFP for their upcoming UFC BJJ. We were the only company that they reached out to. Everybody else put their name in the hat. But they came to us and they're like, we need you to do this. And so that was like a nice motivator to me. So I got Edgar coming in, who's going to take a lot of pressure off me with aesthetic. Now we have UFC interested and we're on their radar. And so that was an amazing experience working with those guys. Obviously, Hayabusa ended up winning. There's not a lot that I can really say. I don't know how much I can say, so it's probably better to say less. But they ended up winning. But the the experience was incredible. And I'll forever remember when there was two main guys at UFC BJJ that I was working with, and then they called me to tell me that Hayabusa got the deal, and they were cool about it, and I was cool about it, and so I just asked questions about, tell me why we lost, like just lay it on me, like what, so I can improve and do better next time. And then they say the things, and I'm like, okay, so I'll be back then. And they loved that attitude. And then they said, and I'm not verbatim here, but the guy said that Phalanx is respected and known in the halls of UFC. Mm-hmm. And when he said that, like, all right, you're telling me no because this company, Hayabusa, that's owned by some giant investment firm that has a portfolio of tons of other businesses in different sectors. It got nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. And I'm just a dude who made stuff in my living room. All right. I'm cool with that, and that we got their respect, so that felt really good too. So after that, with the UFC, the Edgar of the UFC, I'm like, okay, I'm moving out to Texas because we got work to do. Mm-hmm. So I came out here in October, did a little bit of a tour, scoped things out, went back home, planned my escape, started looking in January, found a place in March, made my move, and I've been here ever since.
Nice. So what has been your experience so far in Texas? Yeah, like you've lived here officially since March?
Yeah, late March.
Okay.
Okay. It's been, I mean, other than how much I hate mosquitoes, mm-hmm. It's been awesome. I have loved every bit about it. I go fill up my car with 93 octane and it's only $70.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's great. Grocery store is less expensive. The electricity bill is a joke compared to Southern California. So cost of living is incredible. The people I meet, when I went to get my Texas license, I'm like dreading the DMV. I'm like, I'm going to spend all fucking day in this place. And I walk up in there and the lady was super friendly, nice to me. I'm like, oh, this is different.
Yeah.
And then they got me in and out of there in no time. Everybody was so nice. I'm like, okay, this Texas hospitality thing is real. And so I love that as well. I met a lovely lady not long ago. That's been going fantastic too. So my experience moving to Texas has been nothing short of spectacular.
Yeah, I've lived in Texas my entire life, and I've lived in different parts of Texas. But I grew up in a small East Texas town, and it's very much like that Southern hospitality is real. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am type of stuff. And when I would travel to like other states, New York and California, like I would definitely, I wouldn't say everyone is rude, but I just feel like in those major cities like that people are so focused on themselves, they kind of like lose touch of like being connected in the community. And I'm not saying that it's like that everywhere here in Dallas, but Texas in general, I think people just tend to be more friendly, and maybe that's because the cost of living is lower, but it could be, because it's just a great place to live,
I think it's because you have space to breathe. So if you take a box and you put some rats in there, they'll be fine. But you put too many in there, and now they're just like the space isn't there, and they start battling each other. And I think that's how kind of Southern California is. You got the ocean bordering on you on one side, you got the desert on the other side, you got Mexico below you, up here you got LA, and I think that the density of it, you're sitting in traffic all the time, parking's a bitch, that those little things kind of chip away at you. I don't think that people there are just inherently rude. I think that it's just too many rats in the same box.
Yeah.
For me anyway, when coming out here and I'm driving place, I'm like, look at all this land. Like, can I just buy that? You don't find that in San Diego at all. Like, there's no land. You have zero chance of buying a land and building your own home. No chance whatsoever. Whereas here, I'm looking around going, I might be able to make my compound fantasy a reality.
Yeah. Yeah. For me growing up, like my nearest neighbor, was like a half a mile away. So, growing up in that, you don't realize like how fortunate you are to be in that situation. Like when I can remember when I would like visit a friend or something and their family had land, like not understanding like how essentially rich they are, not per se money, but for the fact of like you have this ability to kind of do whatever you want on your own property. And living in California, you can look out your window and you see your neighbor's house, and normally there's like a small alley between the two homes, right? It's just like, I agree with you. It's very overcrowded out there.
Yeah. I mean, where I grew up in Northern California is a totally different story. I grew up in a rural place called Placerville that nobody listening to this is going to know about. And it's just outside of South Lake Tahoe, northeast of Sacramento, in the foothills of the Sierra Nevadas. And it was rural, quiet, big pine trees everywhere, waterfalls, rivers, beautiful. So I was raised in a very peaceful environment. We also had a 1,600-acre cattle ranch that I spent a lot of my time on. So I'm used to being able to breathe and stretch. And San Diego, I mean, I've lived in Orange County as well, San Luis Obispo, parts of Orange County, Oceanside, San Diego, parts of San Diego. And I don't have anything bad to say about it. I mean, I love it. So I talk about how this has been nothing short of spectacular, but I love it there too. I love San Diego. It's not going to be the place where I hang my hat. I look forward to visiting. The greatest weather on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And I do love it. But I think that unless you were born and raised there, when Gary Vee talks about how much he loves New York City, the guy was born and raised in a box. It's all he's ever known. If you were born and raised there, I can see never leaving.
Yeah.
Because you're just, this is it. The Bay is gorgeous. La Jolla. I can rattle off so many places in San Diego where you can go have a great time. For me, though, because of the way I was raised, the environment that I was in, taking a country boy and putting him into the city, I got a lot out of it. I'm super grateful for it. But in a way, moving to Texas to me is more like moving home.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, I know for me, like I was never one to want to go to New York. And recently, last year, I had my first trip to New York. And like you said, there's some good parts to it for sure, but like majority overall, I just feel like it's so overcrowded, and I was happy to get back home.
Brandon McCaffrin is a friend of mine. You know who he is?
Yeah, B-Mac.
Yeah, we were this is when I was in San Diego, and he was there, and I was just starting to think about moving, and I remember asking him about where he lives and all that, and he said that when he comes to Southern California, it feels like he's going to another country. Because it's just so different from his world.
Well, is he in like Alabama? Is that where he's at?
Yeah, Alabama.
Okay, yeah. And Alabama is like completely different than Texas. I mean, like when I go to Alabama, I feel like I'm further in the country. So
yeah, I don't know anything about that. I've been to rural ass Missouri at one point. I did that to visit my sister, but I haven't been to any of these, Oklahoma, Tennessee, I don't know anything about those.
So I want to talk a little bit about you being a geologist. I have an oil and gas background, so I worked with geologists a lot as well. How did you decide that was like your career path?
Yeah, it is weird when you think of me as the Jiu-Jitsu apparel guy, former geo. So when I left my little hometown and I went to San Luis Obispo, I just knew I wanted a better life, to build something. I didn't want to just be in my small town forever. I felt like I was kind of meant for more. So I moved to San Luis Obispo, where my best friend since childhood was already there. He let me crash on his couch in his 400 square foot shoebox apartment, and he was going to Cal Poly. And so I decided I'm just going to start going to school. And so I started taking general ed classes, and one of those general ed classes you need to take is a science class. And of the options, I looked at biology, and I was like, this is kind of boring to me. I don't really care about biology. But geology sounded interesting because I can be outside. Like I can go kind of study how things occurred on this planet. What was happening in the body didn't mean as much to me as being able to like see how mountains were formed and how all of this came together and all the different layers, and they're all folded up in this. And why is the top of Mount Everest the highest point on planet Earth? Why is that tippy top made of marine limestone, which is formed down there?
Yeah.
Like what? Like I wanted to know about those things. And so I thought that'll be interesting. So I took that as a geology class, and we got to go look at cool stuff. and learn. You still have to learn chemistry and physics, and so I started on that path. I was actually pretty good at it. Didn't realize I was, because I didn't do all that well in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a shock to me that it was kind of, I don't want to say easy, but not hard. And then at the end of the semester, the teacher, Bauer, he pulls me aside and he asked if I ever had an interest in being a geologist.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first time any teacher had ever said anything nice to me, because I came from an era where the teachers were old and assholes and would like physically hit you. And like, we come from that era. No one was nice. No one seemed to enjoy their life. And I wasn't in the smart classes, so that you were just kind of like abandoned and forgotten. So I never experienced a nice teacher before that gave me a compliment. So he was literally the first teacher ever to give me a compliment. And he goes, have you ever considered a job in geology? You get to do all these things and go out in the world. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. And he goes, well, I really think you should, because as long as I've been doing this, no student has ever got 100% in every quiz, every assignment, every midterm, everything. And you're basically going to get 100% in the entire class, and that's never been done. So you might want to consider it. I was like, I guess I am. And so that was the spark. Like, just that one guy saying that. I didn't even notice that I had done so well. I was just living. And so from there, that same best friend graduated, and he was moving to San Diego. I was finishing up general ed, and I looked at San Diego State, and they had an outstanding geology program. And so I went, all right, this works. Let's go. So then I moved to San Diego, and now I'm going to San Diego State, doing geology there. More amazing professors, very complimentary, very helpful. I ended up getting a bunch of grants. I ended up being on a research cruise out in the middle of the ocean, mapping the seafloor in a way that had never been mapped before, and pulling out core samples and analyzing them and melting rocks and X-ray refraction machine, and got published with my name on a peer-reviewed journal. It was so much fun. I just really enjoyed it in college.
Yeah.
But as a career, that's when things changed, because now I'm sitting in an office all day just doing this, and I'm like, this is not what I did in college. If I knew that all that fun stuff and all of the exploration and everything that I did was going to lead me to just sitting here crunching reports, I probably would have chose something else. But that's what got me there, and I'm thankful for it, because my college time was amazing, and my professional time as a geologist was boring. But all of that led to me being so frustrated with being kind of like pissing my life away. That pain caused me to go build Phalanx.
Yeah, that's a very similar story. You know, like I got into oil and gas pretty young, at like 21 years old. And I did it, probably until I was like maybe 33 or something like that. But it wasn't like I heard about, the petroleum industry and like, oh, that's what I want to do with my life. It was somebody gave me an opportunity. They saw like I was pretty good and knowledgeable and, could do critical thinking. So they gave me this opportunity and I excelled in it. And it was fun in the early stages. But then when I moved into managing people, that's when like the fun kind of ceased, and that job brought me here to Dallas initially. We're working like just north of here. And I had been training jiu-jitsu a little bit, but I wasn't like really dedicated to it. I think I'd been training for 2 years. I had a blue belt. I wasn't very good. I'd like competed twice, lost both times. And then I started training at a gym here that had like recently opened. Really, good instructor. I started like showing up regularly because I didn't have anything else to do. I had, no family here. So I would just show up at the kids' class, and, I started assisting with that. And then the instructor was like, hey, you seem like you're very interested in this. Would this be something you want to do? So I would like fill in for him occasionally. And then at some point I started teaching kids, and I had one of the kids that I taught, his dad was a professional tennis player and coach. And he kind of like took me to the side, and he had a very successful kids program in tennis where he had like over 500 students. And he's like, you're very good at teaching. Like the way that you break down information to people is, makes it easier for them to retain it. have you ever thought about like doing this on your own? I'm like, at that point, I'm like, yeah, I don't even know how to like start that, you know? And I'd gotten the position at that point to start teaching kids full time, got my purple belt. And at that point, I decided, you know what, like this is something I think I really want to like follow. But I was still working, you know, full-time job. So I would only be able to teach in the afternoons, and kind of like built that program up. And, you know, after a while, I was able to quit my job. By the time I was like a brown belt, I quit my job, only focused on jiu-jitsu. And, you know, we've had like a lot of growth since then. But for me, it was kind of like, I can only do one or the other. I feel like I was, you know, splitting my time so much that I wasn't giving my full effort to, you know, what I could potentially do with the gym. So that's when I decided to quit, you know, all regular work. And it was very stressful in the beginning because now you're like 100% dependent upon yourself and your own abilities.
Yes.
But it was like one of the best things because I had to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
I was like determined that I was not going to fail.
Yeah, man, the thing that I wish everybody would do is go try. Because I could have gone back to geology if I failed. You know, I could, but I couldn't. If I didn't try this, how would I know? Like I said, Phalanx was the fourth business. I had 3 failed ones after that. You don't know. But there's an allure to having your day job, and you get that check every other Friday. It just shows up in your account, whether you do much more or not. You don't have to go eat what you kill. You can settle into that. And then they make it even more tantalizing by saying, oh, we'll match 10% on your 401k. You put in 10, we'll put in 10. That's 20%. And that's how they get you. And so, but if there is somebody out there like that where it's eating away at them, I really encourage them to go give it a shot. And I just know how scary it is. It was scary for me. I came from a family of people who were like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Stay safe. Get a city job. Get something safe. And I had no support. When I left my day job to just do Phalanx full time, I didn't have a single person supporting me. Not one in my life. And I don't fault them for it. They were looking after my safety and my security in life. But I knew.
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously I had the same thing. You know, opening up a gym is like, you know, probably most of them fail within a year. The only person that supported me, and it was my wife, and, you know, I'm thankful that she was there to, you know, bounce ideas off of. And she's definitely the more logical one where I'm like, let's just jump out there and make it happen. But most of the people in my life were like, you could just like continue this career. You're making 6 figures. Like, why don't you just continue that? And it just wasn't fulfilling. And, you know, like you said, it's the same thing every day, and it's never going to change.
Yeah. And I meet people like that on Instagram. I'll get a DM or something, and they make good money. They're solidified in their business. They're respected in their industry. But at the end of the day, they just are not fulfilled. And Tony Robbins has this thing where you've got success and fulfillment. And they're 2 different things. Success is business. It's money. It's conquering. It's accomplishment. And then fulfillment is your heart and how you feel and what you enjoy. And he says no amount of success will ever be able to fill the void of fulfillment. And I knew that. I've been a follower of Tony Robbins for some time. And when I left my day job and I cashed out my 401k, I cashed out my IRA, I went all in. I got rid of all my nest eggs and paid the fees and all that. And then I had that little bit. And then I couldn't afford my place in Orange County anymore. So I moved back into the basement of that same best friend from the previous time. And now I'm in his basement making peanuts. And the early days of Phalanx, my motivation was actually fear-based because I was terrified of going back to that life. Like a freshly paroled convict who won't even jaywalk. Like, I was that guy. I was terrified of going back, and because of it, I just worked relentlessly. All day, every weekend, years and years and years straight. I think I worked 7 years before I took a day off. But at some point, I realized this isn't healthy either. Like, I'm being motivated by being afraid of that. And I thought, well, I'm not even enjoying this. So then I made a shift in my mindset of, no, I'm not going to go back. I'm here. This is what I'm going to do. I will always find a way. And if I'm not being grateful every day of my life, then I'm pissing away the beauty of actually being an entrepreneur, of being able to control my time, being able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want, wherever I want. And so I just made a shift. I said, no, fuck that fear. I'm going to live in a state of gratitude.
Yeah.
And but it's tough. And so that's why I have empathy for the people who are doing a day job and they're listening to your podcast right now while they're at work, supposed to be working. I have empathy for that. It's not easy to get out, but it is the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I would encourage every single person who has that itch to give it a go.
Yeah, we have a student, and he's been with me for probably 8 years now. But he was like a manager for a shipping company, and, you know, he worked horrible hours because if you're in the shipping industry, things got to be ready in the morning to go out. So he's, you know, working from like 3 a.m. on. And he had like taken up photography, and he was pretty good at it. And he asked me one day, he's like, man, how did you just decide to like make the switch one day? And I go, I just did it. You know, like there was no, okay, we're going to like prepare. I need like this amount of money in my bank account. It was, no, I'm doing this. And if I don't do this now, it's going to always be put off, and it's going to be like, you know, half-assed really, you know? And, you know, when we have these conversations with people, it's not like I'm trying to do this to like motivate someone. It's more of, I'm just telling you like my experience, my approach. Like maybe my approach wasn't the best for everyone, but he decided to do that and jumped full in on, you know, videography and photos, and, you know, got into doing like weddings and birthdays. And now this guy's like, he stays booked 7 days a week. You know, he has 3 kids. He's able to, you know, pay for his entire family to live. His wife is able to take care of the kids. And, you know, of course she assists him in some of that stuff, but it's cool to see like where he's at now, because he is way more, not only like financially successful, but he has so much more freedom, you know, to live the life that he wants to live.
Yeah. Those stories make me feel so good inside.
Yeah.
I love hearing that because I know how I felt when I made that escape. And when you mention that freedom, I think life comes down to 3 freedoms. I don't think that we're trying to acquire things and get that new watch or buy that car or whatever it is. I think it comes down to freedom. I think that we do want financial freedom more so than we want financial abundance. Most of us just don't want to worry about bills.
Yeah.
And if a car breaks down, be like, how am I going to fix this? Financial freedom is real. Time freedom is a big one that people don't realize is more valuable. Like, I would rather spend financial freedom, money, to leverage support so that I have more time freedom.
Yes.
It's the one thing you cannot get back. It's done. The second that just went by is gone forever. And that one, and that one. It's just slipping away.
Yeah.
And so leveraging other people that enjoy what they're doing to give you that time freedom is huge. Financial freedom, yes, it gives you more time freedom. And then the third and biggest freedom is inner freedom. You got to be good in here. I don't have any self-talk. I don't have anything bad going on in there. And I know that it's what holds back a lot of people.
Yeah.
We were talking before this and all the negative comments and stuff that people do. It's just a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And if say you make a ton of money, Tony Robbins has talked a lot about this, how many people he knows who are millionaires and billionaires who have tremendous amount of financial freedom who are actually miserable. One of my early mentors, amazing businessman. He built a company from his trunk of his car to a $250 million company. Just him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never be able to accomplish what he's been able to accomplish. He's so good at it. And I was, why are you mentoring me? Like, what do you get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
And he said that you've been able to figure out something in life that I haven't, and I'm 60 years old, and that's that you could be happy with having very little.
Yeah.
And so there's a guy worth a ton of money, and he doesn't have the inner freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You got the inner freedom, the financial freedom, and the time freedom. If you focus on those, then this other bullshit stuff of buying things and status maxing and height maxing and looks maxing, whatever the fuck maxing, none of that actually even really matters.
Yeah. I had a mentor in the oil and gas industry, and, you know, he taught me a lot about how to be successful and, you know, really how to, you know, just believe in yourself more than anything, you know, like, put the effort in. But again, it goes back to, he didn't have that inner freedom. Like, he had finance, you know, very wealthy, like sports cars, the big house, everything, but nobody liked the guy, you know. And the really sad thing is, like, he just recently died earlier this year. Like, when he's on his deathbed, he realizes, like, how many people that he screwed over to get where he's at. And it was, you know, that is like, I think that's something that I learned more from him than anything, is like how not to treat people, you know. And for all the good that I learned from him, that was the biggest thing that I could take away from it. And like, hearing that, you know, on his deathbed, he realizes, like, man, I just wasn't a good person. You know, like, I had this ability to affect people's lives, and I didn't do it the right way.
Yeah.
And if I can tell anybody out there that's, you know, listening to this, like, you know, that inner freedom is like, you could be completely broke, but if you have that inner freedom, like, that is so much more valuable.
Yeah. It helps if you were really poor when you were a kid. There were
Yeah.
times with my biological dad where we were severely impoverished.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can be happy in times like that, you know, if you were born rich, it might be a little bit harder. But treating people well was really important to me when I also first started Phalanx, because in that geology job, I had some asshole bosses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could throw a few under the bus right now. And so I vowed, when I create Phalanx, that I'm not going to be that guy. Like, I'm going to actually care about my people. I'm going to be good to them. I'm going to build a culture and an atmosphere where people enjoy working here, and they're going to have time freedom. Mm-hmm. One of the gals that works for me wants to go to the zoo or something next week in the middle of the week, and I'm like, fuck yeah, go do it. I couldn't care less if you don't have to sit your ass in from this time to this time every day. No, I want people to enjoy it. So the internal reputation was really important to me as a leader, to make sure everybody was happy and cared for. And then externally, too, I wanted the reputation of Phalanx to be one where we have outstanding customer service, we have innovative, high-quality product, and that we lead. That I really wanted to establish that. I wanted to make sure that we cultivate a exceptional reputation. We don't have to think that Phalanx is your favorite. You know, everybody has different flavors of styles they like. Mm. But I never wanted it to be where someone goes, oh yeah, the owner of that brand, he's an asshole. Like, no way. And I mean, I've know a lot of apparel owners in our industry, and some of them are fucking assholes. And some of them are, they're just not good guys. And people know that. I never wanted that. Your reputation is extremely important, but it all starts with how you treat yourself in here.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, something else I would say about y'all's brand, too, is, like, you're not really, like, you don't put yourself out there as, like, hey, I am Phalanx, you know. And I think that, you know, there are some brand owners out there that, you know, they do it more for, like, the self-recognition than, like, actually creating, you know, a good product that has, you know, good reviews in the community. And it's more about, you know, getting eyes on themselves. And
yeah, that one's been tough, because for me personally, I would rather be behind the scenes and just like Phil Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't know who Phil Knight is. The dude who runs and owns and built Nike.
Yeah.
You know, but then you got an Elon Musk type where they're like front and center, a Gary Vee front and center. On one hand, I could see how that actually really works well, because then people can align themselves with more than just a brand. They see the human behind the brand, that there's actual people, not just some soulless entity. So I do see that there's something there, but it's been one that I've personally struggled with because I never had an ego attachment to the attention. Mm-hmm. And there were times where people on my marketing side would go, "You're actually hurting us because you have things that would be awesome to put out there." There's underprivileged youth foundations that we've supported since the beginning, and I never marketed it because I just wanted to do the right thing.
Yeah.
There's a countless amount of law enforcement that we've supported and military that we've supported. During COVID, we did a charity thing, 2020, June, July, August of 2020. Go back to that. How many people do you think were buying jiu-jitsu apparel in that time? 0. Sales were completely gone. But my philosophy is when times are tough, give harder. And so we did this whole charity thing, and we were going to give away, we did an autism thing, and we were going to give away the profits. And to a jiu-jitsu, like someone in our community that has like a child with autism, and it's like it's tough to have. And we found somebody. They're actually here in Texas now that I think about it. And we found somebody, and my friend Black Belt Michael Alexander, he helped get the check to the lady, and he even recorded it on his phone privately for me. And she was crying. She had just lost her husband, and now has an autistic child that she's got to now raise on her own. And we ended up cutting a check for $10,000 and handing it to her. And even we didn't market any of that. And even on the letter itself, I didn't even take credit there. I wrote, because it was from the people, the customers. We all came together, and I wrote something like, "On the behalf of jiu-jitsu practitioners around the world, know that strangers care. Sincerely, all of us." My name wasn't anywhere on it. But I didn't market it. I just do. So there's got to be a way. We need to get better at this, where you can help grow by promoting what you've done in a genuine, authentic way that's not salesy and like, look at me. But on the other side, if you do nothing like I was, then you've got people listening to this podcast right now. They're like, I didn't know Phalanx did all those wonderful things for the community.
Yeah, that's the same approach that I kind of took for this business. Instead of putting like, trammel jiu-jitsu or something, I wanted to create a space that, could essentially like live on without me, Obviously a lot of that is like me creating the environment, and, it's not only me, it's like the community. But I never wanted to kind of like be the front man. And, there is some aspect of it that I do have to be that leader and, that kind of like person that represents this. But I want this to like be much bigger than just me, and that was my approach of like naming it Corvo Martial Arts instead.
Okay. Yeah, the same. I wanted to outlast me.
Yeah.
I want to make an impact. I want to leave my mark, but I want it to continue on. I want it to I want to see where it can go. I want to set it up for success beyond my death.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what's next for you guys?
Ooh, okay. So immediately my mind goes internal and external. So internally, we're looking for building our headquarters out here, getting some offices going, and a little working space, conference room, our own podcast. I really want to do a podcast with law enforcement because there's a lot of things I want to say to cops and to shed light positively, because I think that the police officer, the sheriff, and the police and sheriff's department are the most crucial to the fabric of our society. You can pluck out any other career and society can function for a bit. But if you pluck out police, if you pluck out cops and sheriffs, this thing's done in 24 hours. They're shit on. They're not appreciated. They're underpaid. They're on deployment every day of their life. They put that badge on, walk outside, and now they are on deployment. But that every day. And it's just, I mean, I spent a brief amount of time in the Sacramento County Sheriff's Academy, and I have family in law enforcement, so I really want to do a podcast with those guys. So have our own headquarters. We have amazing products that Edgar's putting together that I'm very proud of. Deep storylines on a lot of these things, because we don't want to just drop a product. There's like meaning behind the things that we do. I would even put Easter eggs on our products that some people to this day have never even found. And so everything that we're doing is story driven with the actual pillars of what Phalanx stands for. The mission and the philosophy that we operate and live by are being woven into these drops that we're going to be doing. We actually have a gi that we're pretty proud of that we'll be releasing. So that's coming out. We have our Phalanx Squad Challenge coming up, not at this location, but your other location on August 2nd.
Yeah.
That I'm super pumped for, putting together these young, hungry savages that are just ready to rip each other's heads off in a team duel. And I've gone above and beyond setting this thing up. We're paying for their travel. The winners get paid. We're taking them out to a meal. I love the idea of we're bringing all these guys here to go beat each other up. And then afterwards, we're all going to go break bread together. We got Katie, photographer lady. She's coming. Rocio, the video lady from Austin, will be here. And we got Edgar designed these dope-ass kits because secretly we want to show UFC BJJ how to do red team and blue team even better. So we're designing ours to show them what's up. And then also it's kind of like a feeder league into these other bigger events. So PGF and Polaris and there's events you get invited to. Yeah. So they have to come to you. But when I went on TikTok and I was talking to the young generation, I'm asking them about like what problems are they dealing with, what's going on. The thing that they kept saying was, I want to go to these bigger events. In order to do that, I need to go compete at these events here. But these events are now crazy expensive. I'm young. I live with my parents. I don't make a lot of money. I drive for Uber Eats. So I need to go to these expensive events to get to the ones I really want to go to, but I don't have a lot of money and these are expensive. This sucks. And I went, okay, well, what if I make a legit tournament system that's just absolutely free? Not just free. Financially, we pay you. You're not out of pocket at all. And all you got to do is show up and put down some serious work. And they're like, oh, my God, I would love that. So that's kind of how it was born, is being able to give these up-and-comers a platform and a legit event to display their skills and get the attention of PGF and Polaris and Who's Number One and all of these other ones that they're really trying to. So our squad challenge is, we're not competing with any event. We're the contender series that's trying to help elevate to those events.
Yeah, I think that's really cool that, you're at a point where you can do something like that. It's just giving back to the community, and I think stuff like that comes back tenfold. Yeah, I
think so too, and I love it because I want, as I said, I want to make an impact on the industry. I'm not just here to take a bunch of money and ride off in the sunset. I'm here to leave my mark, and so one of those ways is to build a tournament that doesn't cost them anything. That's legit, like real victory, real filming. It's the kind of thing that UFC BJJ, they will watch this footage to judge whether they want to talk to you or not. And by the way, Black Belt Mike, who will be at that event, is best friends with Steven Tecci, who's the dude who's running UFC BJJ. So the eyeballs of the people who really matter will be there. And then so that got me excited to do it for the giving back and supporting the upcoming generation. Because I've been asked to be on board of directors and stuff for other events like for a long time, and I always just said no, it doesn't interest me. It had to be something more meaningful to interest me. Giving back to the young gen, that's meaningful. Giving them a platform that they can actually come and compete at to get seen and get sponsors, that's important to me. And then on the end of it, when they get through the event, everybody on those teams is going into our private Discord that we have. And then there's some channels in there where I'm donating my time to help them with anything that they're dealing with when trying to get sponsorship or ideas that they have. So if some energy drink company comes to a guy and goes, "Hey, we're going to make you this offer," how does he know that's any good? He doesn't know. He's just a blue belt or a purple belt trying to make his name, and he's great at social media. And so now a company's interested. How do you know that that's a good deal for you? You don't. Do they know? Yes. They're the black belts in sponsorship. You're the white belt in sponsorship. So I want to be a mentor of sorts to the guys that graduate from this thing. And it's not a requirement, but if they want my attention to help them make smart decisions, I will give them my ear and voice to give them my take on something. Yeah. Same with the financial side of things. If they have any questions about that, I'm just here to help. So on the front end, it's building a tournament system that doesn't cost any money so that they can get seen by events and sponsors. On the back end of it, it's me being a resource to those veterans to help them make smart decisions in this game that I've been in for 15 years now.
Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah, so you guys have so much going on. I don't even know how you have time for, your personal life, but I know it's a balance, So I just want to say thank you for being here today. You left us with a lot of information and a lot of good thoughts for those people out there that are thinking about making that jump into, personal freedom and financial freedom. You guys are giving back so much, and you guys always have some of the best designs that come out, and I just appreciate you guys so much. You and Edgar are great. And, I look forward to getting you in here to train with us someday. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate you as well. And I'll say this, that when I was moving out here, I do a lot of research on things ahead of time. And one of the things that I did was I asked about you because I need to move to a new gym, a new jiu-jitsu gym. All I've known is Gio Martinez, Richie Martinez, PJ Barch for 12 years of jiu-jitsu. And that's all I knew. And it was tough leaving that. So when I'm coming here, I'm like, geez, I'm not going to go to a 10th Planet. Okay, Edgar trains at Corvo, so that makes sense. I'm going to ask around. I asked people that I know here. I asked people that I know in San Antonio. I asked people that I know in Austin, from jiu-jitsu guys to photographers to social media creators. I asked so many people, what do you know about Corvo Martial Arts and Tony? And every single person had nothing but nice things to say about you. Yeah, your culture that you built and you as a person. So that was enough for me to say, okay, then that will be my home gym.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what you were saying about all we have in any industry is our word and, what people say about us, And if somebody is a jerk, that's known for sure. And for me, I always wanted to create an environment that was, not only a fun environment, but a safe environment, more of like a family atmosphere, And some part of me is leery of saying that because there's so many gyms that use the word family, but it's more of a cult. I don't feel that we have that at all. We're not all dressed alike. So that's one of the signs you're in a cult. But, it's just... That was a big part of me wanting to start my own gym. Is I want to create an atmosphere that I would want to train in.
I've spoken to hundreds of jiu-jitsu gym owners over the years in our B2B business. And the number one thing that I've noticed is when it comes to having a successful jiu-jitsu gym, the number one component is not how many stripes are on your black belt. It's not how big your gym is. It's not how many competitors that you've got and trophies on the wall. It's the culture that you built. That's number one. That's the number one thing that's going to keep people coming back is how do they feel when they're at your gym?
Yeah.
That's it. And you have done that in a resoundingly positive way.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And, make sure you guys follow Phalanx online. They're going to have more team challenges coming up, and they're always looking for athletes to jump in on that. And make sure you guys go check out their website. They always have some sick gear coming out. And again, thank you again, Chris, for doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah.